is also the largest regulator of the futures markets in the U.S., but it's also the largest player in the futures markets in the U.S., and they fall under the heading of self-regulated body that conducts business according to the rules that they themselves regulating themselves. And what we know about the CME is that they've been caught now several times breaking the law. And the CBOE, the Chicago Board of Options Exchange, and the Chicago Board of Futures Exchange, they're at the heart of the fraudulent derivatives trading and at the fraudulent trading that goes on every single day, the law breaking that goes on. But the CME, for example, tell them more about this. It's really shocking.
Well, we're going to move on to this headline. So they're saying to the protesters, get a job, but they can't even do their job. MF Global customers say money safeguards failed them. CME Group, the world's largest futures exchange, is responsible for auditing its clearing members, such as MF Global, under its authority as a self-regulating organization. Now, CME Group is losing the trust of investors, according to this article in Bloomberg Businessweek, who uses the exchange and expect their money to be protected, said a trader with $500,000 in an MF Global account that has been frozen since October 31st, and who asked not to be named because he fears reprisals. He also said that CME Group told him to expect not to get his money back for years, as it's held up in litigation.
Well, when you do business with the commodity markets in Chicago, regulated by the CME Group, and you give them your money to be investing in various accounts, they put that money in their own pocket, and then they put up a set of false accounts to the regulators that they themselves regulate. And that's how they base their quarterly performance numbers, and their filings is based on a completely fictitious reports. They falsify accounts. They commit massive fraud. They commit massive counterfeiting. This
is the closest to a Marie Antoinette moment we've had, because it was the royal family of France that caused the country to be bankrupt at the time. And perhaps Marie Antoinette thought she wasn't taunting the population intentionally like these guys are.
Yeah.
But these guys at this derivatives exchange, the largest derivatives market in the world, they are responsible more than almost anybody else for the global financial crisis that we see before us.
Yeah, the only question is, where can I go to start an insurrection? So, I mean, is it Chicago? Is it Greece? I'm thinking Belfast, because you know, they know what it takes to start an insurrection. And I'm getting a lot of requests to go up to Belfast to start a new country called the Independent Republic of Max Keiser. And we're going to go after the banksters. So Belfast, I'm coming into your town soon.
Are you going to declare this in Parliament when you do go speak to David Cameron again?
There won't be any Parliament left by the time I get there. I'm pursuing a scorched earth policy ahead of when I arrive. That's how bad I am. All right, Stacey Herbert, thanks so much for being on the Keiser Report.
Thank you, Max.
Don't go away. After the break, I'll be talking with Currency Wars writer James Rickards.
Observe nature and discover its beauty. Communicate with the wild and learn. Test yourself and become free. See what nature can give you on RT.
Hi, I'm Max Keiser. Welcome back to the Keiser Report. Don't walk, run to your nearest Kindle and pick up a copy of this book, Currency Wars. This is the Rosetta Stone of the entire financial situation. Confused? Don't be. Read this book. Let's talk to the author, James G. Rickards. Jim, welcome to the Keiser Report.
Thank you, Max. Thanks for inviting me.
All right, Jim Rickards, your book is very timely with the suggestion emerging from the G20 that German gold reserves should be pawned to the EFSF in order to increase the leverage available to the fund. Explain what's happening here in regards to the currency wars.
Well, Max, as we said all along, and as I say in the book, currency wars are about competing devaluation. So the Fed and the Treasury have been working very hard to cheapen the dollar, really trash the dollar relative to China and Europe. But China does not want a strong currency either because they want to promote exports, and Europe has the same problem. And that's the essence of currency wars. Not everybody can cheapen all at once. Somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. Right now, by the way, the big loser is Europe because the euro is very strong. A lot of people are surprised at that. They've heard, Europe's falling apart, it's in crisis, these sovereign bonds are, trash, etc. But the problem is China and the U.S. both want a strong euro because they want to sell their goods to Europe. Europe's a larger export market for China than the United States is. So if China and the U.S. want a strong euro, you're going to get a strong euro, and Germany's on board with that. So that really explains that conundrum. But at the end of the day, not everyone can win a currency war unless you go to gold. Gold is the one thing where everybody can devalue at once against gold. They can't devalue against each other, but they can devalue against gold. So that's where these things end up. But there's a joker in the deck, Max. The joker is the SDR. I know it makes people's head hurt, but it's the special drawing right. The easiest way to think of it, this is the IMF printing press. The Fed has a printing press, they crank out dollars. The ECB has a printing press, they crank out euros. And known to very few people, the IMF has a printing press and they crank out SDRs. So I see the entire international monetary system as a foot race between SDRs and gold because those are the only things left.
Hey, I want to repeat that point because it is quite critical going forward, especially in your thesis as you laid out in Currency Wars. The ECB can print euros, the Fed can print dollars, and the IMF can print these SDRs, which is another fiat currency, global currency. Now, in response to the suggestion about the selling or collateralization of Germany's gold, Germany countered with a suggestion that instead they suggest that Italy should sell their gold to pay down the debt. Now, of course, Italy's got a big gold position in all of this. Just to walk us through that little counter response from Italy and their position in the gold right now.
I've described, I've actually studied the entire world in gold space, and what I mean by that, people, geostrategists study the world in oil space. They say, who's got the oil, who needs the oil, what are the choke points like the Straits of Hormuz, how is it shipped, etc. Well, think of the world in gold space and ask yourself, who has the gold, who needs the gold, and where does it come from? And it's a very revealing picture. The gold superpowers in the world are actually the United States and Europe. They may be trying to trash their paper currencies, but the U.S. is 8,000 tons. The Euro system as a whole, all 16 members have 10,000 tons. So that's what the pushing and shoving is about. But there's one big problem, which is that gold that we just talked about is not in Europe. It's in New York. It's about half a mile from where I'm sitting. I'm doing the interview for New York, and it's in the basement of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. And good luck to the Europeans trying to get it back. I mean, the problem with all this gold pledging is the gold's actually in New York, and the U.S. is in a position to confiscate it when the time comes.
All right, Jim, I wanted to spend some time now on, in the book, Currency Wars. This is just out this week, your book. In the first couple of chapters, you go through an actual Pentagon-sponsored exercise of a currency war, and these chapters read like a thriller. This is a fantastic read, as well as being incredibly informative. But you were participating in the Pentagon's exercise of a currency war, and I'd like you to summarize those first couple of chapters for viewers, because I really think they need to understand that this term currency war is not just a metaphor. This is really happening. Walk us through it.
Sure, that's correct. This was what you're describing, Max, and it is the first two chapters of the book. It's the first ever financial war game conducted by the Pentagon. Now, the Pentagon has conducted war games forever, and they're very, there's the red team and the blue team, kind of bad guys and good guys, and they do these all the time, and there's certain centers where these are conducted. But this is the Pentagon decided in 2009 that they should do a financial war game to see what that would look like. It was conducted at a top secret weapons laboratory halfway between Washington and Baltimore called the Applied Physics Laboratory, but it was the first time they had ever done finance, so I was actually invited in as an expert consultant on how to write the rules of the game. And they knew how to use aircraft